Next, we have Jonathan Granoff, President of the Global Security Institute and Adjunct Professor of International Law at Widener University School of Law.
Thank you very much. I agree with all the previous speakers. About a decade ago, I was in bed about 12:30 at night, and I got a telephone call. Granoff, hi, it's Bob McNamara here, graduate of Harvard. I said, what is it, Secretary McNamara? He said, I'm going to cite you in a book I'm writing called Wilson's Ghost. Recommend it to everybody. I said, what is it that you're going to cite? Well, there's a footnote in a law review article you did that I want to cite. And I said, well, you don't need my permission. He said, no, but I want to discuss it with you. So the footnote in a law review article titled Nuclear Weapons, Ethics, Morals, and Law says, Buddhism, hurt not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful. Christianity, all things whatsoever you would that men should do to you, do you so even to them. Confucianism, do not unto others what you would not have them do unto you. Hinduism, this is the sum of duty. Do not unto others that which would cause you pain if done to you. Islam, hadiths, no one of you is a believer until he desires for the other that which he desires for himself. And it just went on, because when you write a law review article, if you say the sun's going to come up tomorrow, you have to cite the weather service. So I said, well, what is it about this Secretary McNamara that you find so interesting? And he said, until I read this, I didn't know that Buddhists and Muslims had the golden rule. And I said, well, in all due respect, the golden rule comes from the human conscience, and the human conscience speaks to the divine mystery. Everybody does that. And then he said, I'm just learning that. He should have learned that at Harvard. And we now know the consequences of not having a critical mass of leaders in the world knowing this fact. We now know that the spiritual admonition of the wise to see the human family as one, and the practical necessity of human unity to deal with a set of global challenges, protecting the climate, protecting the oceans, eliminating weapons of mass destruction, and the list goes on, require a new level of global understanding, a new level of global norms, a new level of global law, because our footprint, because of science, technology, and social organization, has now gone global. The fact is, it's not just a global footprint for today, but the actions we do today will determine the future for millions of souls, God willing, will come in the future. And if we're going to have the rule of law to govern these issues, that rule of law is either going to be the law of power, or it's going to be the power of law based on ethical and moral foundations. And unless we have places where there is dialogue and discussion and discovery of the norms and relationships that people have, we will not be able to nurture and grow that ethical foundation for a global community. We have, in fact, already established a robust global commercial community. It's fabulous. You can write a letter of credit in Kuala Lumpur and be assured it's going to be honored in Santiago. I bought my gas at a Russian concession yesterday. My computer was on the blink. I talked to a young lady in Bangalore, and the money that paid for these goods and services was borrowed from China. That's the reality of our commercial world. But our spiritual institutions don't have that same global reach that our commercial institutions have. And Lord knows our military institutions are still living in a pre-Westphalia world. They're almost like city-states with a siege mentality. $1.7 trillion spent last year in means of killing each other, with nuclear weapons still on high alert, because we're not talking to each other, because we don't have places where the discipline of communion which is what a divinity school can acknowledge, and even, and I dare say, talk about love, and acknowledge the mystery. Dialogue, where you come together for the purpose of understanding the other. Dialectic, where you jockey out ideas and find common ground. And debate, where we really don't agree. But when those break down, then you end up on the other side of debate, you end up with violence. So we have to have a place where this kind of, not just dialogue, but debate, and not just debate, but communion and celebration can take place. The full range of human activity. And I believe that if Harvard were to create such a multidisciplinary, multidimensional place, it would really electrify the academic world. I'm here representing the United Religions Initiative, and about over 20 years ago, we met together at Stanford University. Bishop Bill Swing had received a large grant of money to create a United Nations of Religions. And the idea was to have religious leaders come together and deal with these kinds of issues. But we debated, and I was one of the people who said, that's not a good idea to create a representative body of religious leaders. Who would represent the Christian community? Quakers who don't have a priest class? Protestants, well, we know what happened when Protestants and Catholics fought it out during the 30 Years' War. Didn't work out real well, did it? Who would represent the Muslim community? Shia, Sunnis? So people came up with another model and said, let's try and get lots of regular people talking together. Let's, instead of coming from the top down, let's do from not the bottom, but the people. So now, I'm really pleased to say, we have over 620 what we call cooperation circles. They're multi-faith, they're in over 80 countries, and the step was taken to create this before the internet. Then the internet came along, and now there are robust dialogues. And they not only deal with the wonder of interfaith, intercultural dialogue, but actually take on issues. So I'm in a cooperation circle that has people in Kenya, people in India, and the people in the United States who are in it are George Shultz, who knew? Former Secretary of State. Sidney Drell, who used to run the Los Alamos Nuclear Laboratory. Ambassador James Goodby, one of our most distinguished diplomats. Ambassador Thomas Graham, who is a graduate of Harvard Law School. And we are dealing with the moral, ethical dimensions of the survival of humanity. There are also local organizations dealing with water issues in Uganda. There's a group with hundreds of thousands in Europe dealing with just interfaith dialogue. So it's the full range, and what we discovered was the idea was put out because we believed that the idea was a good idea. We built it, and people came, and it's growing. Well, there's an idea that's afoot here today, that Harvard could be a place that could use the incredible resources of this institution to stimulate, to galvanize, to inspire, and to experiment with the idea that a place where the skills necessary to reach out beyond the boundaries of my religion, my nation, my race, my point of view, could be a conscious, intentional process. And I'm going to conclude that I believe there are two arrogances that humanity cannot survive, and such a place could address these two arrogances. One arrogance is that my intellectual explanation of the great mystery that created my life and sustains my life, and to which I will return when my body's time is up, is so superior to yours that I could kill you over it. We simply cannot not tolerate that any longer, that intellectual arrogance. We similarly cannot tolerate the intellectual arrogance that proposes that there are technological, scientific solutions to core human problems. The core solutions relate to the perennial virtues and human qualities of love, compassion, seeing the lives of others as important as your own, and bringing those virtues into action. That has been what the wise have always told us, and it is still the only way that we can live together. And I hope Harvard becomes a place in which those values can shine. Thank you very much.